I compare it to in my world where you write the really nasty, hot-headed email and then you delete it before you send it. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. How many times I've written like comments on the Facebook posts that I'm like, and then I delete out and then delete them right. Because you just like, you got it.
Got to get it out. 100%.
Right,
100%.
Welcome to Glow Local, a podcast that celebrates community, entrepreneurs, and businesses around the area. Good morning, listeners. Today, I am sitting down with Rebecca Langweber, corporate attorney who specializes in business law. I am super excited to be sitting down with Rebecca today because this is a topic that I think anybody who's watching could benefit from learning about. I know I'm super excited to learn about some of these topics because as a business owner myself, there are so many things that I think we don't realize we need people like Rebecca for. And today she's going to tell us all about those things. So welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. So Rebecca, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do. Tell us about your journey. Give me everything.
Sure. So I am an attorney. My office is located in Merrick. We have been a firm for 40 years. It's a family firm, which is a lot of fun. All women too, which is the best. Just the best. I did residential real estate for 9 years specifically, working with buyers, sellers, and lenders on, your first home or any other home. I was super stuck in my real estate world. Just COVID and the market and everything made my clients really tense and difficult to work with and upset, and it just didn't feel fulfilling. My daughter was born in April of 23, and I was coming home not happy. And I said, this is not who I want to be for my daughter. So I kind of pivoted my practice to working with business owners. That could mean a lot of things, of course, but being a corporate attorney I'm here for whatever your business needs, whatever contracts you have, things like that. I always say I will help you form your business and I'll help you sell it when it's a multi-million-dollar operation. Yeah, start to finish. That could be 2 years, 10 years, 100 years. I'll be here for it, and it's great. It's been great so far.
So how long have you been doing this now?
I will be an attorney 11 years in December.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a long time. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what services do you offer to business owners like myself?
Sure. So forming your corporate entity is something that many people do in the beginning, but a lot of people don't. I find that you're starting a business and you have all these expenses and you don't want to pay an attorney to form an LLC or do all those things. So I sort of have clients at every stage with things like that. And then we get into the fun stuff, which is trademarks, right? You have a great logo or a great slogan that you use and we want to protect it. I love the creativity behind that. And then, policies and procedures. A good example is my Pilates clients. I have a lot of Pilates studio owners, and the waivers and the policies that, every single client who walks in the door signs, those should be drafted by an attorney. Yeah.
I never even thought about that.
Exactly.
That's
exactly the point. Yes.
So I feel like you offer a lot of services that so many of us don't even realize we need until it's too late. Mm-hmm. Do you come across situations like that?
So it's funny because I just today posted on Instagram that it is cheaper to pay an attorney to prevent the problem than it is to solve the problem. So I don't litigate. I don't go to court. I'm lucky to be married to a husband who does. But my job is really to never let you get to that point, whether it be by protecting yourself in forming an entity, for example, or registering your trademark so nobody could steal it. I'm on the preventative side. So it's always cheaper to draft a contract properly or do any of these things that prevent the problem because, it's expensive when the legal problems happen. Another really good example is your lease. So most people sign a lease. Half the time it's like written on toilet paper, it's not formal, and they don't have an attorney review it. And then they come to me and say, I had no idea, X, Y, or Z. And my first question is, did you hire an attorney to, review this or negotiate it for you? And the answer is almost always no. Right. At that stage of business, when you're first starting out and you want to get in the door and you want to build this beautiful space and you just don't hire the professional. So the lease thing is a hot topic right now, I think, for a lot of people, but I want to get in on the ground floor with you. It's always better than when you come to me and say, we have a problem and I can't help you at that point.
Exactly. So it sounds like you're more of like the proactive type where your half is like the reactive.
Yes. That's true pretty much all the way through, actually.
Even at home, we weren't gonna.
Yeah, we don't have time for that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So
Absolutely.
I can relate to what you were just saying in terms of lease agreements, because being someone who's hopped around from location to location as a smaller business owner first starting out, before I landed here, I was in salon suites.
Sure.
I feel like salon suites are definitely a really common lease for a lot of small business owners to start. And back when I signed my first ever salon suite lease, thankfully, I went through my whole lease, and then when the lease was up, it was perfect timing. I was ready to move out anyway. But the second salon suite that I had, I ran into some issues, and I wanted out early. And that was when all of a sudden I started to realize, oh crap, I signed my life away. So I called an attorney, and I was like, what do I do? You know, and so she went over my lease with me, and she was like, oh my God. She's like, I wish you called me before you signed this. She's like, because you basically signed, you know, your life away with this. She was like, you know, and unfortunately for you, she's like, there's really nothing that can be done once that is done. And I was just like, oh my God, great. So I'm stuck. And I ended up having to pay my way out of that lease, where had I had her draft the lease or edit the lease before I signed it, I think maybe I would not have ended up in that position.
Sure. Even something as simple as, you know, when you already own the space or you already lease the space and you want to rent a room out, we start to get into like really, really technical stuff where it's not subleasing because your lease doesn't even allow you to sublease. Are you licensing the space? There's so many intricacies to it. And as the business owner, my big thing is if you don't do it right and you want that person out, what are you going to do? You can't go to court with a lease that's not legit. It just doesn't work like that. It will not be upheld.
Is subleasing not a thing?
Subleasing is a thing, but licensing your space is also a thing. So licensing your space is a license to use it. So the same way you have a driver's license and they give you the license to drive, you could give somebody the license to use their space. The beauty of the license is it's revocable.
Is that an area renter's license?
It's just a license agreement. And so, for example, I have a client who who leases space in Merrick.
Okay.
She has rooms that she licenses. And the beauty of that is we don't need to evict somebody if we don't want them to be there anymore. It's a 7-day license, we could revoke it. And she's paid weekly or monthly or whatever the arrangement is. But that's the kind of thing where people will say, I want to sublease my space. And I'll be like, your lease doesn't allow for that. So then you have an agreement you've now drafted on ChatGPT with somebody else that's just not valid. These are the things that I want people to check in on because, again, it's going to be a mess when it goes south because we're not doing it right in the first place.
That is super interesting. So subleasing is a thing. It just depends on what your original lease says between you and your landlord.
Of course it does. Yeah, you don't just get to do whatever you want most of the time.
You don't own it.
Yep.
It's yours. Right. Okay, I understand. So that's really interesting. So there's a lot of different things to be mindful of as somebody who is, you know, the lessee.
Sure.
And the person, it seems that, you know, is, first of all, like just going back a couple of steps, like just forming your business. Now, why would you recommend that somebody, let's say, uses your services versus LegalZoom?
Oh, my favorite. Absolutely my favorite question. So, okay, first of all, deceptive advertising enrages my soul. I just think it's icky. I don't care who you are. I think it's icky. One of my problems with LegalZoom is it says it's $100 to do X, Y, or Z. It's never $100. It's $100, and it doesn't include the filing fee. And like, all right, you form your entity, so maybe you're at $400, but then you don't actually have a tax ID number, and you have no documents to go to the bank with. And these are the things that it's just not right. It's not right that anyone should think something like that is $100 because you don't ever get what you need. So that's my first issue. My second issue is if you have a question and you want like, hey, I'm at the bank and they're asking me for my operating agreement and it doesn't properly reflect, who are you calling? I'm pretty positive 1-800-LegalZoom or whatever the phone number is not going to pick up your phone, whereas, you know, my phone's right here and I'm answering that call for you. I also just think you don't necessarily get the proactive advice of the why this makes sense. You know, they're happy to take your money. They're happy to do what you're asking, but why? So I would say the number one inquiry I get of people who are, you know, looking to hire an attorney is what type of entity I should form. Sure. And I think the most surprising thing that happens after that is I say it's actually not for me to say. It's for your accountant to say. Yeah. So the different types of entities have different tax implications, and I don't know your financial picture. I don't even want to know your financial picture. It doesn't matter to me. Either way, something that we form will protect you, which is my job and my role. But I don't know the answer of what makes the most sense for you. So you're also not getting that from LegalZoom. You're not getting that which is right for you necessarily. I mean, as a business owner, nothing is cookie cutter. So 10 different people in your position will have 10 different reasons for why they form a corporation or an LLC or.
Yeah.
So you're not getting that from an online website.
So would you say that prior to someone coming to you for, let's say, the process of beginning the legal, the formation of the business, they should seek advice from their CPA first to find out what entity?
Absolutely. I think that's probably my number one most common referral that I give is the CPA, is an accountant. I'm lucky to know so many different ones and so many different niches and so many, different personalities fit different people and things like that. But all day, call the accountant. If you don't have one, I have one for you. And it needs to be a business-minded accountant. The person who does like your grandma's personal tax return is not generally the same person necessarily as the business-minded accountant. Yeah.
I can also relate.
Most people can. Yeah. I just had a client yesterday. She said, my accountant said I don't make enough money to form an entity. And I said, that blows my mind. You could make $5 and still be sued. So if the liability is the number one concern, I don't care how much money you make.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there needs to be some type of protection in place. I mean, I know a little bit about the different entities out there. Like I know, for example, with like an LLC, it is to my understanding that you put it in place as the limited liability corporation, so that if, let's just say, someone sues my business, I am protected as an individual. My business is being sued, not me. Talk to me about things like that. For example, if let's just say I have an LLC and someone was to sue me, am I fully protected, or are there other measures that should be in place? Like I know some people take out umbrella policies on their homes and stuff. Are these things that you help people figure out?
So generally speaking, a corporate entity protects you, period, no matter what kind it is, as opposed to just being you, right? So say you own 3 houses, 5 cars, 6 boats, like those are assets that are at risk when you are you just operating in the world. Whether you have an umbrella, whether you have insurance, that's all great too. I would say insurance is the second most referred person that I generally give out the name of constantly, because you need insurance. So the other thing I say a lot is anybody can sue anybody. Sure. So if I'm suing you, I'm suing like you, your mother, your sister, and your entity, right? Like I'm going for broke on it. But essentially, the acting as the LLC is what protects you, because they're only going to be suing the LLC, and presumably only the assets of the LLC are what's at risk. Okay. So as long as your house is not also owned by your LLC in that example, you're good. Okay. Whether when we go back to choosing an LLC or a corporation or a PLLC, if you have a professional license, the big thing can be whether you're going to have employees, whether you own real estate, those sorts of things, or whether you're selling your business in 5 years can have some sort of a dictator, role in what you pick. So again, those are usually tax implications, but I always recommend general liability insurance to any and every business owner. It's not expensive. I think people think the same way people think a lawyer is expensive. Insurance sounds like it will be expensive because we all know what it costs to insure a house and insure a car, and those prices are crazy. But general liability isn't a crazy expense, and I don't know how you sleep at night if you don't have it.
Exactly. Because I mean, what happens if you get to work the next morning and there's a car in your waiting room? What do you do?
Yep.
You need these things.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I highly recommend all business owners have insurance. I mean, how do you operate, like you said, with I just the fact that people do is mind blows me. Business insurance is important for so many different reasons. I know that for me, one of the things that I have on my plan, I have a rider for business personal property, and it's great because
People just steal things.
well, we dropped the handpiece of our laser machine and it cracked,
And that was that.
And that would have cost me thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands. And I was covered. I just had to pay, my deductible, whatever it was, and I was good. So that was tremendous. So I feel like that we've covered, that people definitely, we want to make sure that they're speaking to their CPA before they come to you, finding out what kind of entity is best for them. They're going to come to you, you're going to help them form that entity.
Sure.
What next steps are you taking with a brand new business owner that's just starting out after you help them form their?
I would say the next kind of most needed thing is the contracts. Whether it be, you're having laser done and I'm sure I'm signing a waiver of some sort. It transcends all industries. Something like Pilates, for example, whether you have the doctor's clearance to be doing a workout, and sort of protecting yourself as the business owner from the liability of the things that should be on the client, right? So for example, if I came to you and I wanted laser, but I was in the sun yesterday, presumably that's on me to tell you. And the contracts and the policies and the waivers that I draft with clients often protects you. It brings things up because often people don't realize what they need to tell you or disclose. But also, indemnifying you that that's not on you as the business owner. And again, anybody can sue anybody, but when we have these agreements in place and we have these protective clauses that essentially put it all out there, there's no question later. The one major thing I'm kind of recommend, and I do this, like I recommend this to strangers on Instagram that I don't know, but if you have a cancellation policy, right? I'm sure in your industry that's major, no matter what kind of beauty industry you have, cancellation is, I think, top tier, biggest gripe of people in your industry. If you don't have that policy out there
in writing,
who knows what you want from me, what you need from me when I cancel? And I've been in that situation. I'll never forget. My daughter had COVID. She was like 8 months old. She had COVID, and I had to cancel my keratin appointment. And I could come to you and get keratin and probably give you COVID, but I didn't want to do that. And I remember the hairdresser saying to me, we have a policy, and all I could think of was like, I'm an attorney. I would have known if I saw that policy, and I'm extremely respectful of other people's time. But if I didn't see it, I don't feel like I could be held responsible for it. And in today's day and age, when I say that your policies have to be out there, what does that mean? It doesn't generally mean a piece of paper that I come in and sign when I come to you. It means a highlight on your Instagram page. It means at the bottom of your website. It means at the bottom of every email that comes from you, whether it be a link or an actual bodied email with the policies. I want it everywhere. And one of my favorite things that my Pilates clients all do is they get these beautiful plaques made up, like acrylic on Etsy, and they're stunning and they fit the vibe and whatever. But it has all of the policies right there and then. So yeah, when you get there, you see it. But I'm always worried about before you get into the brick and mortar business that everybody knows.
So what you're saying is that a cancellation policy should not just be a form that you have someone sign.
No.
It should be posted in
everywhere. Like I want it tattooed on the inside of everybody's eyelids, because you can't expect people in this day and age where media's coming and flowing and you're moving as fast as you possibly can through all of it. How can you expect your clients to know if it's not readily accessible? So you'll see people on Instagram, which is a pet peeve of mine, where they're ranting like 14th client canceled today or whatever. And okay, I don't necessarily agree with that being the place for that. However, I'm the person who's like, hey, you should really do a highlight with your policies, because I'm stalking your Instagram before I come get my eyebrows done with you. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, that's how I'm finding everybody, right? And for me, it's wild because nobody in my industry is being found on Instagram the way I am trying to be, right? It's just not something that happens often. But if I don't have who I am, what my brand stands for, what my rules are, things like that, in a business like yours on my Instagram, those people don't know those answers to those questions.
So what kinds of consequences could there be, let's say, for the business owner who tries to enforce a cancellation policy that they're not posting all over the place? Maybe they just have that for you.
Yeah. I think that, listen, are we ending up in court over a $250 deposit or things like that? Most likely no. Whether it be because the business owner, is going to give it back to just keep it all peaceful, or because the other person knows they're wrong and they're either going to give it up. Maybe I often get texts from people in the beauty industry like, I have this person and she wore her hair extensions for 6 weeks and now she says they're no good, and unfortunately it's not legal advice, it's like people advice, which is give it back to them, because they're going to ruin you on Google. And unfortunately we live in a day and age where you're beholden to the review, and that matters more than the $500. Okay. It's a shitty feeling. It's a shitty place to be in, right? But it's sucking it up. It's kind of letting the ego go sometimes.
It's hard, yeah.
It is. It's terrible. I mean, I've given back a retainer to a client that just wasn't a good fit for me, and it usually feels better once it's done than while it's happening.
So really, more than anything, it's more like, it's not like there's going to be legal consequences where, like if someone tries to, let's just say, like if I charge you a $25 cancellation fee, you signed a paper that said that you would agree to that, they may try to call it a thing, get disputed. What other than that, really? And that's just like the reviews and the okay.
Right. I mean, it's like the social implications of kind of what comes from that. Litigation is expensive, right? Attorneys generally cost money. So you're not going to hire somebody to go after somebody for $25. No good attorney would let you do that. It's called throwing good money after bad, and we don't allow it. But preventing it, we're just going to try and prevent that. I have a lot of traveling bridal makeup and hair artist clients, and they'll all say, yeah, we charge X for a cancellation. I say, okay, I'm hearing you. That makes sense to me. How are you going to charge it when they cancel?
Right.
And the answer is I'm like, you're going to meet them in a parking lot? Like, we need credit card information, and you need information, or take the deposit, and then you decide when to give it back. So the other part of it is, like, we make these policies, but they have to make sense. So when you chat GPT or when you Google, like, bridal makeup contracts, and it doesn't make sense in real life. So a lot of the time, I'm not even giving you legal advice. I'm giving you, like, practical guidance on what your paper how it plays out in real life. And that's the fun part,
I think you probably see this way more often than I do, but I feel like people make stuff up as they go along in the business world. And I mean, it's stingy, but I've been doing this for so long. So like, I get it, because when I first started out, I probably made so many of these rookie mistakes, and I think like most people had. And it's not until maybe something occurs, or, someone says something to you, that you take a step back and you're like, oh, I look so stupid right now. Funny that you brought up the cancellation policy with like the girls going on like their stories and ranting and raving about it. Like 10 years ago, that was me. And I will never forget my friend who owned the salon suite next to me. She came to me and she was like, as your friend, I need to just say this to you. She's like, you need to stop. You're going to scare clients away. And I literally looked at her and I was like, bless you, woman. I was like, because you're so right. Like, now that you're like standing here and saying this to me, and I'm thinking about it, and like, it's like, it's like when girls post pictures and it's like, felt cute, might delete later.
Yeah.
It's like in the moment, it felt necessary. In the moment, it felt good. I posted this thing. Now I'm like, I'm mortified. Like, how many people just watched this and felt how she felt? Like, this is a turn off. Like, and now 12 years later, I literally look back at some of the things that I have maybe posted or shared or things that I've done, and I'm like, people, like, what was I doing? So
I think this
like more of a social
100%.
problem.
Yeah.
Problem.
So I think there's a lot of things there, right? So the first thing, and this is true in life, not just in business, but like, it's not personal. Like, sometimes that person is having a really bad day and it's not about you. You sort of just were in their path, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if you're ranting about your client that canceled, who's to say I'm not the next person you're ranting about when I'm in your chair?
Exactly.
And I don't really, like, I will be the first one to admit, like, it's a safe place when you're getting your hair done and you're getting your nails done, and you want to be like that comfortable, So it makes me a little uncomfortable. The other part of it is like professionalism. I don't care who you are, what you do, whether you're a teacher, a business owner. I mean, like, I could name every single industry in the entire universe. It's professionalism. So the same way, like, the customer is always right, and P.S., they're not going to always be right, but we have to act like they're always right. And ranting about them on Instagram is not that either. So I see that a lot. Listen, I compare it to in my world, where you write the really nasty, hot-headed email and then you delete it before you send it. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. How many times I've written like comments of the Facebook posts that I'm like, and then I delete out and then delete them right. Because you just like, you got it.
Got to get it out. 100%.
Right.
100%.
I also do feel like, and I'm sure, I feel like we're around the same age. I think that a lot of this comes with time. It comes with age, it comes with maturity. It comes with just so many other aspects of developing as a human being. So speaking of screwing up all the progress you made, talk to me about trademarking. How important is this for brands?
Sure. I think this is another one that I think people are surprised about, or like, I'm not just like, trademark. I don't, first of all, it's not cheap and it's not fast, right? So people come, hi, I have this concept, or, this logo or this name or whatever it is, and I want to trademark it. I'm like, let's do it. Like, all right, well, like, let's talk about that. It's probably going to take a year. And let's talk about the fee and what's involved in it. Trademarking is a great thing. The one kind of, I guess, question that I give to a lot of the people who consult me for trademarks is, what are you going to do with it? If you're somebody who has a trademark for ego, which I think is a lot of times where people want a trademark for it and just say, I have a trademark. What does that mean to you?
Right.
If somebody is doing what you do in another state, in another industry, and they're using your similar name for that, what difference does it make?
Right.
So why are we doing the trademark is probably question one,
Okay.
and what's your goal with it?
Yeah.
I think people are like, well, like someone told me I should, or, I saw a little TM on a sweatshirt with a logo that I saw, and I thought maybe I should do that too.
Oh
Like,
my
that's
God.
not necessarily the right reason.
Right.
The other kind of part of it is, what else do you have in place? Because I never will recommend a trademark when you tell me you don't have an LLC or a corporation. That, in my mind, is not priority number one if we're talking about protection of what you're building. So, how much money do you have to spend? What are you budgeting on legal services, and what else do you have in place? Because I just sometimes wonder, is the risk of not having trademarked as big as the risk of kind of what else you do or don't have going on?
Okay.
And I think people are surprised by that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are plenty of other attorneys that would say everybody needs a trademark.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily feel like in the arena of small homegrown type of businesses that's priority number one.
Okay.
It's a great thing. I have a client, she's a fashion stylist in New York City, and we just trademarked her slogan. And it's just something that was so meaningful to her, the emotion behind her slogan, and she uses it on Instagram constantly and in her advertising and her website, and it was really meaningful to her.
Right.
And it, she was going through a tough time when we started, and it's the best feeling. Like,
Yeah.
she was so thrilled about it.
Right.
And that was the right fit for her.
Okay.
But not always for everybody else.
Right.
And yeah, if you come to me and say I have nothing in place and I want a trademark, I'm not generally recommending that is your next move.
Interesting. So who should trademark? Like, give me an example of someone who you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you're not trademarked yet. Like,
I don't think I often say that to people.
Okay.
I don't think that there's many people where I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I guess it depends really what level or what stage your business is at.
Okay.
I think of somebody who is using, a really kind of creative logo or something like that, maybe in an industry where there's a lot of competition, or the value of that logo would be kind of diluted as someone else similarly situated was using it. It's not cookie cutter. I think that kind of what I would want to communicate about that is, I don't think that it's a yes or no for any one person. I think it really depends on the full picture, sort of what you have going on.
Okay, that makes sense. So I feel like in my industry, for example, like I'm Long Island Aesthetics, right? And anybody can now go and use that name. I think one of my biggest fears about not being trademarked is if, let's just say, someone down the block decided that they wanted Long Island Aesthetics, they can go and trademark it. Take Long Island Aesthetics, and now I have to rebrand my whole business. Is that how that would happen?
So my counter kind of challenge to that scenario is, we're your brand. I believe that your personal name, your face, why clients come to you is not the name of the company. I think if you called yourself, whatever other name, Pink Flower Aesthetics, everybody would still come. So I'm off, especially in the solo entrepreneur world. I believe you are your brand. And I think that you could rebrand 14 times. And if you do the right job and you do a good job and you're nice and you're kind and you're all the other things, people are coming to you no matter what. So, the value in the name that we're talking about sometimes, I'm not saying your branding doesn't have clout. Of course it does. Sure, no, you've been doing this for so long, but I think if you rebranded tomorrow, you wouldn't lose one client over.
Right. I mean, I have rebranded. I was a different brand a few years ago, and then Long Island Aesthetics came around. So you're right. Me changing my brand definitely did not deter clients. I guess the biggest thing would be the risk that comes with potentially having to rebrand because someone else took the name. For example, the cost of rebranding. Is that going to be more significant than the cost of trademarking? How much is it costing me to change my signs? How much is it costing me to change my brochures, my cards, like stuff like
I
that?
have a wonderful client who just did a rebrand, and it wasn't by choice, whatever it was, just it happened and it needed to be done. And I definitely agree it's not cheap. Right. I also think it came at the exact right time. In my real estate days, I would say to people, like, you always find the house you're meant to be in. There's karma in real estate. I think people think I'm nuts when I say that, but I believe that when my clients come and they say, oh, we looked at 12 houses, house 13 is always the right house. And 1 through 12 were not the right house, not just because you didn't get it, but for whatever other reason.
Sure.
Where house 13 is the house. And I believe in things like that. I definitely leaned into my spiritual side, and in my rebrand, I didn't even have a brand before I started Rebecca the Lawyer. And I believe in that. So I don't think a rebrand, is this big scary monster that everybody makes it seem like. I think
there's worse things.
In a situation like that, right, in a situation like the one you're describing, and it's okay. Yeah. And I don't know that the fear of that or the cost of that is the reason to trademark, for example.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting. I've thought about trademarking, and I'm so glad we're having this conversation because it just kind of like really brings so much light to the idea. And I think that really anybody who's watching this is probably benefiting from this discussion, because I'm sure there's so many other brands that have thought about doing it themselves, and they're now maybe thinking like, because to be honest with you, like leading up to this moment, I was always led to believe that like I was nuts for not trademarking.
No, I don't think you're nuts.
Yeah.
I don't think you're nuts.
Right, that's what I was always led to believe. So I find that so interesting. So I have a question for you. What exactly does it mean to you for a business to have what you would call an in-house counsel?
So I actually did an internship as an in-house counsel attorney when I was in law school still, and I thought it was cool. It was like you would just sit there and people would come to your problem with the problems of the company. And it was fascinating. I think that in reality, as a business owner, you're never going to have an attorney on the payroll to sit in your office and answer your questions. Hopefully you never need an attorney that much anyway. So when I say, outside in-house counsel, I mean, I'm your person. I'm your go-to person for the things that you need. And you could need me once a week. You could need me once a month. You could need me once a year. I'm always there.
Okay.
Accessibility is sort of the biggest thing that I preach all day long, which is you can pick up the phone and call me and you're not going to get a bill for it, because if I bill you for that 10-minute call, you will never call me and you will make those mistakes. And that's the accessibility of it is really what I mean by in-house, meaning call me like I am your employee sitting in your office waiting for your, your legal questions or your legal problems. So that is huge for that reason.
That's great.
The other thing is, people will call me for air conditioning people and like other random things that you need as a business owner, because it become a resource. I'm a central hub for whatever you kind of need for your business. That could include an accountant, it could include an insurance person, which are logical things, but it could also include other types of attorneys and other professionals. I don't do everything. I don't believe that any attorney can be good at everything, even though you end up having a license to practice law, which is like this big, pretty cloud that you can fall under. I'm not a specialist in everything. I would never do a divorce the same way a hand surgeon should never, do whatever else.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yes. I believe in that. You go to a hand surgeon for a hand problem.
Exactly.
You go to an eye doctor for an eye problem. And I think that law is interesting because people don't often realize that there are specialties, even though there's no, fellowship or degree in corporate law. That is what I specialize in, and that's what I'm good at. So people often feel weird, like, hey, my so-and-so is getting divorced. Do you know people? Of course I do.
Yeah.
My resource is your resource when you're my client, and that is I find such joy in sharing my people and sharing my resources with the people who I connect with, because to me, your professional team is everything, no matter what industry you're in.
Right.
I think people in your industry don't even realize that they need a professional team.
Right.
Your attorney, your insurance agent, your accountant, whoever those people are to you are gold. And you think you're only as good as the professional that you surround yourself with. So knowing you need a professional is part A, and having the right team and the right fit is part B.
And knowing the right person to go to ask for referrals is tremendous too. And this all kind of ties into where I want to end this off with, which is talking about the importance of networking in the community and why I started this podcast. And it all literally ties back into exactly what you're saying. We all have our specialties. We all have our niches. We all have our businesses, right? We are business owners. And we have the things that we're good at and the things that we specialize in. But then we also have connections that, for example, the typical, 9-to-5er may not have, because they're not talking to and connecting with other business owners all day. A lot of people, they go to work, they clock in, they do their jobs, and they clock out and go home. Where in the world of business, it's not like that. Like, we're not just taking clients and running a business and then like, that's it. Like, we are literally meeting hundreds of people a day, not just our clients, but like we're always going to networking events. We do stuff like this where we connect with other professionals online. Like I met you online, and you are part of a big networking group yourself on the island, and you've met probably hundreds of other professionals, some of which whom are probably the people that you use to refer clients to. And so there's so much to be said about a person that's so heavily involved in the community and someone who's so heavily involved with networking, business networking specifically, because, again, if somebody has a question or a concern and they don't have that resource, maybe they're their other business owner friend has that resource, and you are that person in so many areas. And I hope that I can be that person for people too, where it's like if someone even just watches some of the clips of my podcast, maybe they find you through it or whatever, or they find whoever else is on it or has come on it or will be on it. And if that helps make their life a little bit easier and running their business a little bit easier, then like mission accomplished for me, right? Like mission accomplished, because these resources, like, they weren't available when I started 12 years ago. Like the resources that we have today and the places that we've gone, it is just so completely different,
I think that so when I sort of was stuck in the real estate world and didn't know what to do, I went to a Babes in Business Long Island meeting. I didn't know even what that was or what it would be like or what I would get for it. And I was there and I was talking to a room full of strangers like, hi, I'm Rebecca and I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And, can you please help me? And that was the day I went home and I started Rebecca the Lawyer. Like that same, I don't know, it was probably within 3 hours of leaving the meeting.
That's awesome.
And I didn't even know that I could have a brand. I didn't know that people were building brands on Instagram because my industry is so different than that. And I think I was always of the mindset where you walk into a room and you say like, who's the client? What can these people do for me? And Babes in Business taught me you walk into a room on what you do for other people because it fills your cup to do that, and you will eventually get clients from it. All these things. And so I like often say Babes in Business changed my life, and it sounds so cliche, but it's super, super true. And the other thing is, not only did I build my network where like anything and anybody that you need, I will definitely be able to find you, but also friends, that I always think about it like these are people I didn't know 2 years ago. But like, when something great happens, or these are people that I go to and I'm like, I met you on Instagram. That sounds if I tell my mom that, she rolls her eyes like, what, Amy? And I think that it also really goes to like the just like shut up and do it concept, because there are people who I've messaged where I've been like, you look really cool. I'm like, I just like really want to be your friend. And like, and that could be like come off as like really weird or creepy, but like, it's been a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing. And
Yeah.
I think that putting yourself out there or, I used to be like a major overthinker, and now I just post it and like people love it. And I'm like, what is this?
It's fantastic.
I think that notion of just doing it, just going for it, just sending the message. Listen, someone could ignore you. They could never read it because they don't do that. Or whatever.
Right.
Whatever it is. But my network and like kind of my horizon has so greatly expanded because of that.
I love that.
And the whole competition collaboration thing. I was in a networking group 10 years ago where you went to breakfast at 7 a.m. and there was only one person in your industry, and that sort of framed my kind of method of operation. Like I can be the only corporate attorney in the room, and now I'll sit in a meeting, a Babes meeting with 5 people who do all of the same thing, and they're laughing and they're hugging each other and they're like, hey, when can we get lunch? And that is such a different mindset, and that's everything.
Yeah.
To have found that at this stage, I feel extremely lucky.
That's huge. It's like what they say, like surround yourself with like-minded people because you are what you surround yourself with. And, at this stage of my life, being 32 years old, having 2 little kids and having a business, it's pretty safe to say that I have isolated myself from like every single friend that I have ever had over the years. And it's not even because I don't like those people anymore. It's just because we're on different pages of life, and it's so difficult sometimes to, get together with old friends and have conversations about like just life in general when you are doing 2 completely different things with your lives. Can you? Sure, absolutely. But I would much rather, to be honest with you, hang out with and have conversations with people who are doing similar things to me, people I have similarities with, people who are into the same things that I'm into, whether that be business, hobbies. Like, frankly, like my business is my hobby, which that's how I know that I'm doing the right thing with my life, because like I love this stuff. I love my business. I love being here. I spend all of my free time on my business instead of doing like outside hobbies. Like if I have free time, I'm probably working on something business related, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people call it being a workaholic. Some people, may criticize it, but I find that when I meet other like-minded business owners, they literally do exactly like what you're doing right now. Like you're shaking your head because you get it, you understand, and you're someone that I can relate to. We have these things in common, and you know, it's so cool to just be able to like sit down with other people that have the same standpoint as you in terms of like just business and, you know, hustling and all of that comes with it. And we have so much to offer and share with each other. Like it's so cool when you have a meeting of the minds with people and everybody like collectively fills the bucket, right? Like and then we all drink from it. Like it's just super cool. I love that.
I compare owning a business to speaking another language. Like you spoke to me in French, I could not speak back to you, but if you speak to me in business, like that's my language. And I think that you know, there's a place for people who do and don't own business. You know, arguably when I started, I wasn't a partner in my firm. I was an employee just like many other people, but growing a brand doesn't mean always owning a business. So you could be an employee and have your own brand.
Sure.
I think to be able to work with people who do that and inspire people to do that is like the coolest thing in
Right.
the world.
I mean, business owners are consumers too, right?
absolutely.
So like one of the coolest things about networking with other business owners is that we can learn how to support other businesses because at the end of the day, when I walk out of here, I'm a consumer everywhere else. So I can use your services, I can use her services, and we can maybe sometimes even barter services.
Supporting local is like
It's the best. It's the coolest thing. I mean, if it was up to me, I would just be like, get rid of money over, like, just throw all the money away and let's barter our lives, you know? Because honestly, I love that. Like, my hairdresser and I, like, she's never paid for laser. I've never paid for my hair. I love it like that, you know? And there's no pressure on either end, and we don't nickel and dime each other, right? Like, it's not like, oh, your hair was supposed to be $250, so like, you know, you can only have $250 worth of laser. No, it's like we just barter, like, and it's so cool. And I do that with a lot of other business owners. I mean, I do that with, I think, my photographer. You know, like we all work together in some way as business owners. You know, there's just this really cool community of people that like just get
I
it.
just feel lucky to have found it.
Yeah.
Honestly, especially in my industry because no one's doing it. And I think that is, I've actually met so many really cool female attorneys who are starting to do this just the way I am. And I think also if you think about where you find your lawyer, you don't generally say Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, for the last however
Not 10 years ago, maybe now though. Yeah.
Exactly. And but I've actually found a really cool group of people who are doing it, and I think it's going to change the industry.
I love
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
And you know what I really love about what you're doing specifically is that, like you just said, like there's probably not a lot of people, like your industry is not oversaturated, especially on the social media front. I am dealing with a little bit of that in my industry where it's starting to get really saturated. It's starting to get a little tougher to kind of, you know, not to say you're competing constantly with other individuals in the industry because well, listen, at the end of the day, business is business, right? So, you know, to have another business open up across the street from you that does the exact same thing, like, is there enough to go around for everybody? Sure, but it affects us, right? There's no denying that. But I think that it's all about the approach. I think that in life, all things come down to how you handle things and how you approach things and what you take from things, right? Like always, like you said, kind of like walk into a room or walk into a business and think more about like how can I help versus what can I take? And you know, and that's sort of you and I were sort of talking about this off camera earlier, where it's like, you know, you're like, oh, I can't believe we've never met before, and I have found that up until very recent, I've kind of isolated a bit as a business owner because a lot of people have come in and taken from me, you know, and it's painful because I've always been a giver. So I've always had good intentions. And anytime anybody has ever come in here and, you know, let's say it was other professionals and they wanted to learn new skills or whatever the case may be, and I've happily provided those trainings at, you know, out of the goodness of my heart, you know, free of cost, and, you know, spent all this time and whatever. Like, I don't get a return on that investment if you walk out and do your own thing. But I never felt bitter ever. You know, it's just a matter of like, you learned something, you took it, you left. That's great. But sometimes it's kind of a little jab when you do spend a lot of time and money and not necessarily money, but just time and
Time is money.
yeah, right. And, you know, you put your heart and soul into helping somebody, you know, be something, and then they sort of not just walk away or run away with it, but they then continue to like step on your toes. And in the beauty world, like that happens a lot. So I think that for me personally, isolating was just kind of like a defense mechanism. You know, if I just keep to myself, nobody can like take what I've built. And my mindset has shifted a lot the past couple of months because I'm meeting people like you, people that aren't just here to take, people that are actually looking to build relationships and, you know, just create these connections without the expectation of what can I get out of this,
I
right?
feel like when you're in the right room, you know it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you're just talking, I was picturing a turtle, like going back into their shell sort of thing. But I think when you're in the right room, you come out of that shell.
Yeah.
And I don't even think I knew I was in the wrong room until I was in the right room.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's nice. Yeah.
It blows my mind every day. Like every single day that I'm Rebecca the lawyer and I'm posting and I'm interacting with people, I feel grateful to have the opportunity, but not even that, like just to have even realized that this was a thing.
Yeah.
It sounds so silly, but I think that you find the good.
Yeah.
I'm seeing just today, two people that I connected just launched, like one is renting space from the other, and that's just from being in the right room.
Love that.
So, and they're just nothing like it. So unfortunately, you have to put yourself in some rooms that aren't going to be a good fit.
Sure.
And
Right.
you learn, you live and you learn.
It's true.
You do. So
Yeah.
I understand the shell, and I think it's smart to be, a little guarded sometimes. But I think if you don't take the leap and put yourself out there and go to the event that you have no idea what it's going to be, and then it just so happens to change your entire trajectory of your career, like you'll never have that.
Like, what's the worst case? It just doesn't go as planned.
You wasted $30 on breakfast and you go home.
I was gonna eat anyway.
Exactly.
All right, let's just kind of end this off by asking you the $1 million question. Like, is there anything about business law that we didn't talk about that you think people may benefit from knowing?
I think every person, whether in your industry or otherwise, doesn't realize that they have a legal need. And it might not be immediate. It might not be, glaringly obvious. But I also think that like having me in your wheelhouse as a business owner is a positive thing. I love to have that 15-minute introductory call at no charge, because you're gonna have a reason that you'll need somebody, and you might as well have that person acquainted. Well, I know you, I'll know your business. We can jump in when the need arises, but also I'm a resource. And whether you might really not need me, I'm the first one to admit when you don't need me. But I will be there to give you the esthetician or whatever else it is you need in your business, whether it's me or not.
Right.
So just having me in your corner, it's not intimidating. It's not costly. It's not any of those kind of things that typically surround what people think about when they think about attorneys.
Yeah.
It's approachable. It's fun. It's interesting, and it
That's
could
good.
be a friendship. Like it could be anything. Yeah.
So essentially, people can reach out to you and simply get on a call free of charge. Hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm opening this business. I don't even know if I need you, but maybe you can let me know if there's anything I should be aware of.
I have an online intake that people love because it's easy, it's quick, and it literally gives you a list of a lot of what I work on.
Okay.
So where you can check the boxes of the things you want to talk about, and we sort of do a brief roadmap of here's what you have going on. Here's where I think you're kind of not 100% aligned or compliant or whatever the case might be.
Okay.
And a lot of the time we have that call and I don't hear from somebody for a little while, and then just when you haven't heard from them in a while, they're signing a new lease and they need you to look at it or something like that. But it's so much easier for everybody when I've already met you.
Right.
We've already kind of gotten to know each other a little bit. And then you need the lease? All right, send it to me. I'll give you a fee and we'll get moving, as opposed to first looking for somebody, first having to have that OMG, who am I using moment.
Yeah,
type of thing.
right.
They're not using someone because you don't know anybody.
Exactly. So it's definitely, you are a person that should be, I'd say, somebody's first point of contact when they're thinking about opening a business. And even if maybe you tell them, hey, I need you to call the CPA first, at least they get on the phone with you and you create that roadmap, and now we have,
It also allows you to budget, right? So we're going to tell you kind of all of the costs and thought process that go along with it. And then you decide what you want to do when. But if you don't know about it, it's not going away. You're just sort of ignoring the inevitable. And again, you can call me at any stage, right? Whether you're starting a business, whether you have started a business, or whether you're 10 years into your business. But I think just making the contact is sort of the safe place.
Step one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Fantastic. All right, Rebecca. Well, thank you. I learned so much today, and this was fantastic because I love learning. Knowledge is power, and I just love knowing things. There's nothing more anxious than, especially for me, I'm an anxious person.
I'm a knowledge is power person.
Yeah. I mean, there's just nothing.
I find comfort in information.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest things is just call me. Ask me. I'm so happy to give you that.
Ease your mind.
Yeah.
Let Rebecca ease your mind. I love it. All right. Well, thank you again. And I look forward to continuing this amazing business relationship and maybe friendship with you. We'll get our 2-year-olds together.
Goodness.